You've been watching videos like this for 6 months. You know the speeches, you know the quotes, and you've liked every grind post you've seen. But look at your hands. What have they actually built today? You're addicted to the feeling of being productive while your life remains exactly the same. You're window shopping for a life you haven't paid the entry fee for. If you're going to keep lying to yourself, scroll away. But if you're finally ready to pay the price, prove it. Subscribe, stay, and actually finish this video. Don't let this be another 10 minutes you waste getting motivated for a life you're too lazy to lead. The world is a graveyard of almosts. You can smell it in the air of every coffee shop, every stagnant office cubicle, and every late-night scroll through a life that isn't yours. We are living in an era of stolen valor, where we consume the triumphs of others like a digital drug, hoping that by watching the sweat of a champion, some of it might miraculously stain our own skin. But have you ever stopped to wonder why the screen feels so cold? It's because you are standing at the gates of a stadium you haven't bought a ticket for. You are trying to enter a sanctuary of greatness with a counterfeit currency, interest. Interest is cheap. Interest is what makes you like a quote at 2 a.m. while your goals remain in the same dusty corner they've occupied for 3 years. But interest is not the price of admission. If greatness were free, the podium would be a crowded subway car. If the view from the top didn't cost a soul, everyone would be a mountain climber. But look around you, why is it so quiet at the peak? Why is the air so thin? It's because the gatekeeper doesn't accept intentions. He only accepts the parts of yourself you are willing to kill to stay alive in the game. Most people believe that success is a door that just happens to swing open if you stand in front of it long enough. They wait for a lucky break, a sign, or a mentor to hand them the key. But here is the secret that the 1% will never tell you: the door doesn't have a handle on your side. It is a vault that only opens when the weight of your sacrifice on the scale matches the weight of the prize. Every time you chose sleep over the struggle, the door bolted tighter. Every time you started tomorrow, the hinges rusted shut. You think you want the gold, but do you want the silence that comes with it? Do you want the moments where your friends stop calling because you've become obsessed? Do you want the nights where the only person who believes in you is the reflection in the mirror, and even he looks like he's lying? That is the hidden fee. That is the fine print on the contract of greatness that no one reads until they are already bleeding. We are about to peel back the skin of your excuses. Over the next few minutes, we aren't just going to talk about working hard. That's a fairy tale for the average. We are going to talk about the vandalism of the self. How much of your current, comfortable identity are you willing to destroy to let the winner inside you breathe? If you think this is just another motivational video, you've already lost. This is an invoice. And by the end of this chapter, you'll realize that the reason you haven't arrived is that you're still trying to negotiate the price. Success is not a purchase, it is a relentless, daily subscription that never expires. If Chapter 1 was the wake-up call, Chapter 2 is the audit. You say you want to be elite, but have you looked at your bank account of time lately? Most people are spiritually bankrupt because they are trying to buy a Ferrari with the pocket change of a part-time effort. In the economy of greatness, the only currency that carries weight is the unseen sacrifice. It's the things you subtract, not the things you add, that determine your altitude. The first payment required at the counter is your social privacy. Do you have the stomach to be the ghost in your friend group? The price of admission demands that you become a mystery to those who are content with being average. While they are out chasing temporary shots of dopamine in crowded bars, you must be in the laboratory of your own ambition, fueled by the adrenaline of a vision no one else can see. It is a lonely transaction. You are trading the warmth of the crowd for the chill of the summit. But ask yourself, is their approval worth more than your destiny? Every yes you give to a distraction is a no you are screaming at your future self. Then comes the most expensive payment, the death of the ego. Most people fail because they are too protected by their own pride to be a beginner. They want the respect of a master without the humiliation of the first 100 failures. To pay this price, you must be willing to look like a fool. You must be willing to be the person in the room who works the hardest but understands the least, until the roles reverse. The ego wants to look good, the winner wants to be good. One is a costume, the other is a core. Which one are you wearing right now? We often talk about blood, sweat, and tears like they are metaphors, but in this chapter of your life, they must be literal. The currency of sacrifice is measured in the hours of sleep you surrendered to the grind when your eyelids felt like lead. It's measured in the meals you ate alone because your schedule didn't permit a seat at the table of leisure. It's measured in the moments you wanted to scream, "I'm done," but you whispered, "One more," instead. But here is the curiosity that keeps the greats moving. What happens when you finally stop negotiating? What happens to a human being when they decide that there is no plan B? When the bridges are burned and the only way out is through. There is a level of power that only reveals itself to the person who has nothing left to lose because they've already paid it all up front. You're halfway through the invoice. You've looked at the cost of your time and your pride. But now, we have to look at the most dangerous payment of all, the one that stops 99% of the world in their tracks. We're moving into the tax of the 1%. Welcome to the deep water. If you've made it this far, you've realized that the price of admission isn't a one-time fee, it's a compounding tax that gets heavier the closer you get to the light. Most people drop out here, not because they lack the skill, but because they couldn't handle the atmospheric pressure of isolation. This is the tax of the 1%, a psychological levy that demands you surrender your need to be understood by the world you are trying to leave behind. Have you ever wondered why the most successful people in history are often described as obsessed, difficult, or even insane? It's because they've stopped trying to translate their vision for people who only speak the language of average. The first installment of this tax is the silence of the crowd. As you begin to climb, the cheering stops. Why? Because your progress has become a mirror that reflects the laziness of everyone you left at the base of the mountain. Your discipline is no longer an inspiration to them, it is an insult to their lack of it. You will find that the people who once called you ambitious will start calling you distanced. They will try to pull you back down with the gravity of guilt, telling you that you've changed. Take it as a compliment. If you haven't changed, you aren't growing. The tax of the 1% requires you to be okay with being the villain in the story of people who are too comfortable to compete with you. Image, a lone lighthouse standing against a violent, dark ocean, the light cutting through the fog. But the tax goes deeper. It demands your internal certainty. In this stage of the journey, you will enter the dead zone, that terrifying space where you've left your old life, but the new one hasn't arrived yet. It's the period of time where you are working 18-hour days, sacrificing everything, and the world is giving you absolutely zero feedback. No applause. No paycheck. No proof that it's working. This is where the almost greats crumble. They look for a sign that they're on the right path, but the only sign you get at this level is the intensity of your own struggle. The more it hurts, the closer you are to the breakthrough. Can you trust the process when the process seems to be breaking you? This is where curiosity turns into a weapon. You have to start asking yourself, what is on the other side of the silence? There is a version of you that is being forged in this pressure cooker, a version that doesn't need external validation to function. Most people are solar-powered, they only work when the sun is shining and people are watching. To be in the 1%, you must become nuclear-powered. You must generate your own heat from the core of your obsession. You've paid the price. You've sacrificed the currency. You've even paid the tax of isolation. But there is one final, brutal truth remaining. It's the part of the invoice that most people refuse to sign because it involves a risk that can't be calculated. We are moving into the non-refundable effort. Are you ready to find out what happens when you give everything and still see nothing? We have arrived at the most terrifying room in the house of greatness. It is the room where the logic of the world goes to die. Up until this point, you've been told that if you work hard, you get a result. But in the high-stakes game of the elite, there is a ghost that haunts every corridor, the possibility of wasted time. Chapter 4 is about the non-refundable effort, the brutal realization that you are pouring your life's blood into a vessel that might not have a bottom. Have you ever felt the soul-crushing weight of working for a year on a dream, only to wake up and find yourself exactly where you started? That isn't failure. That is the ultimate test of your commitment. The world operates on instant gratification, but greatness operates on delayed destruction. It destroys the old you before it builds the new one, and it never tells you how long the demolition will take. This is the stage where your mind begins to play tricks on you. It whispers that you're being unrealistic. It shows you pictures of your peers who took the safe path, the ones who are buying houses and taking vacations while you are burning your youth in a dark room for a maybe. The curiosity here is lethal. What if this never pays off? What if you spend 5 years in the dark and the light never comes? Image, a miner inches away from a wall of diamonds, but he has dropped his pickaxe and is walking away in the dark. If that thought makes you want to quit, then you never deserved the prize. Because the non-refundable effort isn't about the result, it's about the transformation of the effort itself. Most people are transactional, they only give if they are guaranteed to receive. But the 1% are transformational. They realize that the effort spent is never wasted, because it is changing the molecular structure of their character. You aren't just trying to be a millionaire, or a champion, or a leader, you are killing the person who was capable of being average. Even if the gold never comes, the person you became while looking for it is now a weapon that the world cannot ignore. This is the sunk cost that scares the weak. They are afraid of losing time. But the great are afraid of losing potential. They would rather die chasing a maybe than live a life that is a certainty of mediocrity. Can you handle the silence of a year with no growth? Can you maintain the same level of intensity on day 500 as you did on day 1, even when the scoreboard still says 0? This is where the obsessed separate themselves from the interested. The interested want a refund when the going gets tough. The obsessed realize that there are no refunds in the pursuit of greatness. The tension is at its peak. You've surrendered your comfort, your friends, your ego, and now you've gambled your time on a dream with no guarantees. You are standing on the edge of the cliff. But there is one final thing you need to see. Beyond the sacrifice, beyond the tax, and beyond the non-refundable effort, there is a receipt. And it looks nothing like what you expected. You've spent the last 4 chapters in the dark. You've bled your ego, paid the isolation tax, and gambled years of your life on a maybe. Now, you're standing at the end of the hall, looking for the payoff. You're expecting a trophy, a bank balance, or a standing ovation. But as the fog clears, you realize the receipt of greatness isn't a piece of paper or a gold medal. It is something far more terrifying and beautiful. It is the person you've become while no one was watching. Have you noticed it yet? The way your voice has changed? The way your eyes no longer dart around the room looking for approval? That is the first installment of the payoff. The receipt is the fact that you are no longer recognizable to the person you were at the start of this video. You didn't just buy success, you earned the right to look at the world and realize you are no longer a victim of its circumstances. You have traded your fragile, comfortable self for a version of humanity that is hardened, focused, and dangerous. Image, a silhouette of a person standing on a mountain peak, not cheering, but looking calmly at the horizon as the sun rises. The curiosity that drove you here was, is it worth it? The answer is found in the stillness. It's the moment you realize that you no longer fear the things that terrify the crowd. You don't fear the non-refundable effort, because you've realized that nothing is ever lost when it is poured into the foundation of your character. You don't fear the isolation because you've discovered that the highest form of company is your own self-respect. The receipt is the quiet, unshakable knowledge that while others were sleeping, dreaming of the life you now live, you were awake, paying the price in full. But here is the final, haunting question: what will you do with this new version of yourself? Most people reach the summit and stop, unaware that the peak is just the base of the next mountain. Greatness isn't a destination where you get to park your car and rest, it is a permanent state of becoming. The receipt doesn't say, paid in full, it says, first installment complete. The hunger doesn't go away when you win, it changes shape. It becomes a hunger for more impact, more discipline, and more price of admission. You came here looking for motivation, but I hope you leave with something much heavier: responsibility. You now know the cost. You know the tax. You know the gamble. You can no longer pretend that success is a mystery or a stroke of luck. From this moment on, if you fail, it is a choice. If you remain average, it is a decision. You have the invoice in your hand. Image, the screen fades to black with the words, "Who are you becoming?" If this mirror was too bright for you, then leave. Go back to the comfort of the scroll. But if you felt that spark, that dangerous curiosity about what your true limits are, then you belong here. This is where we build the 1%. This is where the price is paid. Subscribe, not to support a channel, but to acknowledge the contract you just signed with your own potential.